Good morning. I am Kimberly Landis, a doctorate student at North Central University, currently enrolled in a theoretical frameworks course. And this presentation was created in response to an assignment in my EDU8100 course where I'm required to justify the theoretical framework of my intended dissertation. Let me preface by saying that the final written theoretical framework is still incomplete, but the premise has been created, and I will present that here. So here's an outline of what I want to cover in this presentation. I'll briefly discuss a few keywords. I will identify and support the existence of the problem. We will analyze three theories that provide the lens for this study: curriculum theory, structural capital theory, and quality of work-life theory. I will explain some of the relevant theories and studies that I've encountered in my research, and then finally I will provide a justification of why my theoretical framework supports a study of the problem phenomena. Just four keywords to make note of: teacher retention, teacher turnover, teacher attrition, and curriculum. Teacher retention refers to the phenomena of teachers continuing to do what they do in the same school for some period of time, and the term also refers to the ability to prevent teachers from leaving their jobs. Teacher attrition refers specifically to the phenomena of teachers leaving employment at a school or district to work at another school or district, or teachers who leave the profession entirely. Teacher turnover refers to the rate at which teachers enter employment at a school or district and also leave employment at a school or district. So the number of teachers that leave and are replaced by a different teacher. Curriculum. Obviously there are some dictionary definitions for the word curriculum. Defining curriculum is complicated. In fact, entire studies have been done just on the process of defining curriculum, such as Pertelli's study on defining curriculum. Pertelli examines it as the content or as an experience, and also as a plan. In this study, curriculum refers to the written or digital format, often adopted and provided as a basis for standards wherein the educator is expected to interpret and supplement with their own lessons and materials. So let's take a look at the problem: teacher turnover. This chart here shows the percentage of college graduates who entered a particular occupation in 1997, but then left that occupation by 2003. And you can see here that teachers, 30% of teachers left the profession. Teacher turnover is a significant problem in the United States and around the world, and in fact one study showed that teacher turnover was twice that of many other countries. Teacher turnover is a problem because it has been proven to negatively impact student achievement. Stress as a factor in teacher turnover. My interest, maybe my bias in this study, is based on my experience as a full-time science teacher and how stress affected my desire to stay in the classroom. There are many studies attributing teacher turnover to stress, and a few of those studies I present right here, and those studies will also inform my theoretical framework. Rosanon's study cited excessive workload as a distraction to teaching. And in a study by EdWeek, teachers were found to work on average, or here they give the median number, 54 hours per week while being paid for a 40-hour work week. Steiner and Wu, in their study, found that teachers had more job-related stress than the general adult population. And we all know that COVID has exacerbated the problem, and there have been increases in teacher turnover as a result. Let's look at if or how curriculum affects these stress levels. In another survey by EdWeek, teachers most wanted time to plan and prepare their lessons compared to other aspects or responsibilities of their job. Mode of instruction ranked high as a stressor for teachers in a study by Steiner and Wu. And a study by Wynn and others on the correlates of teacher turnover found that the availability of teaching materials reduced teacher turnover by 15%. And they also suggested further studies associating school resources with teacher turnover would be beneficial. So to summarize then, the problem statement for this study: in what ways does curriculum as a printed or digital guide for teaching in a classroom affect teacher workload, stress, and ultimately attrition? And I recognize that this statement will evolve and sharpen as I progress through my doctorate coursework. Let's take a look at the three supporting theories. Curriculum theory, structural capital theory, and quality of work-life theory. First, curriculum theory. The earliest reference to curriculum theory is attributed to John Franklin Bobbitt in his book The Curriculum, which was published in 1918. His theory has been modified over time and continues to evolve in response to research and practical application. Curriculum theory has a minor role to play in my theoretical framework, but could contribute to my work in that it defines the context in which printed and digital curriculum can be evaluated. Structural capital theory is an adaptation of business and economic theories that has been applied to educational systems through the work of Mason and Matas. Their theory explains structural capital as the physical and non-physical attributes that exist in the teacher's workplace. Through this theory, print and digital curricula can be assessed as physical resources that can be quantified. That is, a quantitative value can be applied to curricular formats and then correlated with the variables of workload effects. So correlated with the variables of workload effects on teacher retention or attrition. The original quality of work-life theory is attributed to Saklani, who published a study on work life in the Indian context in 2004. He defined quality of work life as the range of conditions humans experience because of their employment in an organization. Later in 2011, Sharplin's study further contextualized the theory in a conceptual framework of person-environment fit with three crucial intersecting teacher-workplace variables that you see here in this graph. The value of this theory to studies on curriculum is that it guides an examination of the relationship between an individual's ability to cope with stress, how these mechanisms are addressed early in a teacher's career, and curriculum's role in this relationship. Further study of this phenomena should assess how curricular formats affect these protective structures, how curricular formats that are adopted and required to be implemented by teachers in the classroom can affect teacher stress levels and thereby teacher retention or attrition. Relevant theories and studies. It is important to the work that similar theories and studies be analyzed for their relevance, to add further support for the methodology and grounding theories of my dissertation. It is also important to identify and assess contrasting approaches to clarify and strengthen, again, the methodologies and theories of my dissertation. I haven't yet researched contrasting theories or studies to a great extent, but I intend to do so in my dissertation. Here you'll see I've identified a few variables that warrant inclusion and that I think will validate my claim that the effects of curriculum format on teacher workload have not been adequately examined. By adequate, I mean examined to the extent that a curriculum can be produced that eases teacher workload, teacher stress, attrition, yet still positively affects student learning and possibly even enhances student learning because of a reduction in teacher distraction. Current curricular formats, what exists at this moment? The study that I am proposing will need to identify distinct formats and attributes of formats of curricula, and this will be an intense endeavor but necessary. Unfortunately, in my effort to locate existing inventories of this type, I have found nothing. And that's not to say that these inventories don't exist, and I will continue to search for them, but it might be necessary to create an inventory of my own. Teacher involvement, pre-curriculum. So there are studies, many studies, assessing the role of teachers in curriculum development, and these studies will be instrumental in that they explain what is already being done, what is already known about teacher perceptions of curriculum and the value of teachers in the design process. And then teacher reaction, so post-curriculum, probably the most important of the relevant studies that I've categorized here. Assessing teacher response to current normal curricular formats. Can that response be improved? And what changes in curricular format would need to be made? An improvement being a reduction in attrition. Again, I've found few studies on this as far as those that pertain to science curriculum or secondary science teachers, and I would like to address this deficit in my framework, in my dissertation. Finally, a summary of the justification. So what have we accomplished in this presentation? We have described a phenomena, teacher attrition. We have shown it exists and that it's a serious problem. We've found a relationship between stress and teacher attrition, and I propose that there is a significant causal relationship between curricular format, as I've defined that here, and attrition. So a relationship that can be quantified. If we further define curriculum theory using an educator-centric approach, if we acknowledge curriculum as a physical resource, as structural capital in the teacher's workplace, if we quantify curriculum's role as a protective structure in teachers' quality of work life, it's possible that some well-defined, qualified, quantified solutions could be applied to curriculum development that reduce teacher attrition and its negative effects within the educational system.